6 up, 6 down so far at Beaver Stadium. If Penn State can take care of the Wolverines, they'll have their first undefeated season at home since 2008.
Penn State's beaten Michigan 3 times in a row at home. Can they make it 4? We'll find out.
It's senior day at Penn State. The final 6 seniors of the Joe Paterno era will go through the tunnel at Beaver Stadium. Special for the White Hardwood. We welcome everyone to the Blue White Tailgate presented by Coors Light. Steve Jones, Trey Bauer, Todd Sadowski. Great to have you with us. Senior day and a whiteout. This senior class has pretty much seen it all, Trey.
Well, I mean, again, if you think about where these kids have come from, if you would have told them when they were getting recruited 5 years ago, what would have transpired over 5 years, you know, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, I don't think that they would not be able to even understand like what they've gone through, and it's going to be a great tribute for them for Saturday.
They've grown a lot in that time. They've seen 5 coaches in those 5 years. As you mentioned, Steve, they have seen it all. As far as the whiteout goes, their last trip into Beaver Stadium, it's going to be weird seeing it at noon. We usually see it at night, but it will be effective, and I think it's still going to be a lot of fun.
Your senior day was Notre Dame 1987. I know it was, I'm sure tears rolled down your face.
Yeah, it was Notre Dame. They were undefeated. They were actually trying to position themselves for the national championship. Coldest day in the history of Beaver Stadium was 25 below with the wind chill factor. I don't really remember too much other than when I was walking off the field after the game, and it was like an empty feeling, like something was missing. And you know, to have that happen the last time, it was really special for me.
You were a Joe Paterno recruit, obviously. There are 6 left on this team. 3 of them sat down with Andrew Callisto.
5 years in the program. Last time you're going to be coming out of the tunnel. You guys given much thought to it?
I mean, we were discussing this on the way over here about how we all kind of have the same mentality and the fact that everyone was in denial about it. I mean, we've been here for so long. I mean, it's been 5 years, so I think I was doing the math. I think it's our 60th, something up there, of our Penn State games we've been here for. So I don't know how many times come out of the tunnel, but just imagining that being our last time is kind of surreal.
Yeah, I haven't given it too much thought either, but I know when that day comes, next Saturday, it's definitely going to be, I feel like all the emotions are just going to come out of me. I'm going to try not to cry. I don't think I will. I'm a pretty tough guy, so.
I've been ignorant to the fact that it's approaching, and I just haven't been purposely not thinking about it. And then secondly, saying that I'm probably going to lose it when I come out. I get kind of emotional with those things like that. So I'm going to do my best to keep it together, because there is a game that needs to be played following that nice moment.
Flip it over, walking off the field. You guys, along with Zettel, Ben Klein, who is like been here forever. Anything special planned? Like, who's going to be the last one to walk off that field?
I never even really thought about that, actually.
Yeah,
you know?
honestly.
Now that you say that, it's kind of like, dang, now I kind of want to stay and be one of those last guys.
Honestly, we probably should just all walk off together at the same time.
Probably. I'm sure it'll probably do something like that.
I can imagine.
You know, in high school, you have your senior day, and all the seniors usually hang out in the 50-yard line for a little bit. I'm sure we're going to do something like that.
Yeah.
And
maybe just all be together during the singing the alma mater or something like that.
Something.
It'll be a big moment.
It's going to be a special moment.
In 1966, Coach Paterno started. You guys are one of the last players that he'll ever actually coach to walk off a football field. Does that mean anything to you?
He's a legendary coach. I mean, I feel like with everybody that's come to this school, he had some part to do with that, as in just the tradition, just the legacy that he had here, and just being that last group of guys is definitely something that I'll definitely remember.
It's something that the 6 of us do really kind of honor and realize that it is something very important that's kind of bigger than us. When they made the decision to take the names back off the jersey, you know, Coach Franklin kind of brought the last 6 of us up there, and we took that picture with some of the Letterman and Spider. And I think that was one of the first moments I kind of looked around and realized we are the last 6 guys, that we will be the last 6.
I think everyone on the roster is here because of what he's done. So, you know, just go out there, play the best we can, hopefully get a win. But, you know, in the back of my head, I'm definitely going to be thinking and paying tribute and, you know, reminiscing on the 6 months or so that I was able to, you know, call him my coach, and I still can call him my coach today.
They are 6 of the 19. Here's the list of the guys that will run through the tunnel for the final time in their respective Penn State careers. And you can see, obviously, some great names on there as well, beyond, obviously, the 3 you just saw there on tape. Christian Hackenberg may be a junior, but he knows this is an important day to pay tribute to the seniors.
These guys were the first guys that really I spent a lot of time with when I was getting recruited here on visits and stuff. So, you know, for me, they mean a lot. You know, it really took me under their wing, learned a lot from them in terms of how they handled the situations that they've been dealt. And, you know, they deserve to be sent out on a high note, and they deserve to be sent out the right way. And, you know, similar to the last few classes they came through, they're very special, and they mean a lot to this program and in the grand scheme and the history of this program.
And this has been a series of streaks. And along the way, Michigan had its streak, Penn State had its streak, and now if you look at the series, you can see how it stacks up over the years. All right, so let's get to it. Jim Harbaugh now is the guy in charge here. He's done a great job organizing a lot of good talent.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact is that Brady Hoke did a hell of a job recruiting. He couldn't get it done on the field all the time. Jim's in there. He's taking over this program. He's obviously intimately knowledgeable of the program. He played there. And you're going to see Michigan being good for a long time.
It's a little different situation when he took over Stanford. They were 1-11, and the cupboard was bare. I mean, Michigan had a great couple of classes under Brady Hoke, but he made some questionable decisions coaching-wise, especially 2 years in that overtime game. Some really strange things that they did, but he inherited a lot of talent. He's got he's got a big player already in the national scene already for Jim Harbaugh. And that's kind of the scary part of it, is you get a good coach with good talent like that. Experienced guys. You're talking about 18 senior starters for the Wolverines. They got experience and talent.
This is the oldest team in the Big Ten statistically. And for Jim Harbaugh, great respect for what Penn State can do.
Big challenge, and our team will be prepared for it this week. Outstanding defense. Offensively, heck of a quarterback, outstanding running back, receivers that are outstanding. So, you know, acknowledge both of those things.
Jim Harbaugh getting his team ready to take on Penn State, his first ever appearance in Beaver Stadium. And again, Todd, he's flat out done the job there. He's taken somebody else's talent. He's made something out of it.
Absolutely. And he really doesn't give you much, does he, when he talks to you? No. The guy just cracks you up. I think I counted 23 words in 15 seconds prior to what we showed you.
Like
to say like absolutely nothing. But he says a lot when they take the field, doesn't he? A lot of intensity he brings to it.
Coming up, we'll take a look at the defense and the Michigan offense as we match them up on Blue White Tailgate presented by Coors Light. Could be a defensive battle coming up on Saturday. What do you guys think off the top?
I think it could be. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be more high scoring than people are going to think about.
You asked us that maybe a month and a half ago. I'd say yeah, because Michigan's defense was one of the best in the nation, but they have not traveled well recently. At Minnesota and at Indiana, they have been torn up. So I think there's some opportunities for the Nittany Lions offense on Saturday.
Let's look at the matchup between the two on each side of the ball as to how they stack up statistically, and you can take a look as to where each one ranks so far this year. I think it's interesting about Michigan, though, defensively. And a lot of people don't realize this. They had those 3 shutouts in a row, which was a tremendous accomplishment. And they had forced 3 and outs on 44 of the first 88 possessions of the year. The last 39 possessions against that defense have only been 6 3 and outs. So things have changed just a bit.
Well, and Harbaugh mentioned 2 words in recent comments about his defense. One was undermanned, and the other was tired. So They just went into double overtime with Indiana on the road. They're hitting the road again. So we'd love to see a tired Michigan defense come to Happy Valley. Yeah.
Struggled a bit against the run, Penn State, a couple times, but that's against the read option, a traditional matchup offense they have not struggled against.
No, I mean, I think Penn State has played really well. I mean, I think what's happened is they've been so aggressive against the pass. They've been getting upfield. They're kind of actually putting themselves at a disadvantage when they're trying to get sacks like that, and guys aren't kind of staying in position. But the fact is, this is a traditional Michigan football team. I think we're going to play very well against them.
Styles are not talked about enough. You can throw all the stats up you want. I want to know what the stats are versus the style. And Penn State's done well against this style of attack so far this year. Matt Bainey is a great story. He was a starter at St. Francis, and he decided to walk on here at Penn State. He's going to go through the tunnel for the final time in his career. He talked about having to defend that Michigan running attack.
They like to line up and run the ball. You know, the first team we've seen in a while here that's just going to line up and under center, two backs, trying to run the ball at you. So obviously that's crucial. But, you know, like you saw last week, you know, they're able to pass the ball a little bit as well. You know, that quarterback's coming on strong here in these last few games and kind of finding his rhythm.
Definitely has found his rhythm. And one thing you'll find with Rudock, career high 440 yards. After the career high he had the week before, but he also led them in rushing. He moves better in the pocket than people realize.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got good feet. I mean, we talked about it in the pregame show. I think he's starting to get a lot more confidence. He's playing like he played last year at Iowa. He is a senior transfer, and he can give Penn State some problems with his feet.
Got to win third down, though. That's a big part of this game, winning third down.
Well, and what comes to mind when you talk about Rudock is, he's really starting to get really comfortable with what's going on. So the story before was the defense. Now the story really is the offense. And, you know, a guy like that can run the ball, that can move around in the pocket, can convert on the third and shorts, can move the chains, can be frustrating. And Penn State's going to have to keep an eye out. And, you know, the question is, can they pressure him? Really, the answer is they must pressure him.
Plus-minus becomes important in a game like this. Michigan's plus-minus, despite great defensive play, they have not created a lot of turnovers this year. What the importance of field position in this based on quick change?
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that, you know, Penn State has been very, very good with their takeover ratio this year. Michigan is very marginal. It doesn't really add up when you have a team that's won 8 games and it dominated people at the beginning of the season. I think turnovers are going to be a huge key in this game.
We've seen Penn State play really well defensively. How odd, though, are the red zone numbers?
Well, when you look at it, in this particular matchup, it's pretty critical. Michigan is the best at converting in the red zone in the Big Ten. Penn State is the worst at preventing scores in the red zone area. So it's going to be absolutely crucial in this matchup to at least hold them to some field goals, keep them out of the end zone, or maybe create those turnover opportunities. And you mentioned Penn State's turnovers. I just wanted to mention kudos to Christian Hackenberg for cutting down on his interceptions this year. That's been a big part of it. He's been a little bit more careful with his decisions in the turnover category. Yeah, 3 interceptions so far this year. Ironically for Jake Rudock, that had been his MO at Iowa. Did not throw interceptions. He threw 3 in the opener, and then he's cut down ever since as well and has really steadied the ship there. In the red zone, though, James Franklin knows his team has to be better defensively.
One of the things that really jumps out to us is we need to be a little bit more multiple in the defenses that we're running. When we do run the defenses, we need to make sure that we're running them the way they're supposed to be run, more disciplined in those things. So I think it's a combination of both, being more disciplined in the defenses that we're running and executing them the way they need to be executed. And then on top of that, I think we need a little bit more variety in the things that we're calling and the things that we're doing. Family Clothesline Defensive Player of the Week. This is a player we're looking to make an impact. Todd, who do you think is that player in your estimation? Well, I'm going to look at Malik Golden. He's got to step in. We don't have Jordan Lucas for this game. Penn State's going to be without him, so the secondary is going to be challenged, especially with Rudock red-hot throwing the ball.
Trey? I think Brandon Bell, I mean, he's got to line up against their tight end. They got a really good tight end. Brandon's a physical guy. He's got to put his nose on him, and I think that's going to be the key. Austin Johnson, pressure up the middle against their center and trying to get to Rudock, which then, if you can pinch him, you can maybe keep him from getting out of the pocket. Kickoff return's a big issue in this one as well. They may not use the same guy every time, but they seem to get the same results.
30-plus yards they're averaging on every return. So, like you said, not sure who's going to be back there, but whoever is back there is going to be dangerous. Would love to see some touchbacks in this game.
Yeah, Jordan Lewis averages 30 yards a kickoff return. Jabril Peppers averages 27.5. And then they've got J.U. Chesson. He averages 66 per return. Now, I admit it's only 2 returns. One was 96 against Northwestern to get the thing rolling on the opening kickoff. All right, coming back, we'll go to the update desk. Now, you're saying, why not intro the entire segment? We found the update desk is that popular on Blue White Tailgate, presented by Coors Light. The offense will need more of those moments coming up on Saturday. But, of course, when you end the previous segment by promoting the update desk, should we make you wait any longer? No. Here's the update desk with Andrew Callisto.
Guys, Carl Nassib continues to be recognized across the nation, this week being named a finalist for the Nagurski Trophy for the Best Defensive Player and Rotary Lombardi Award for the nation's top lineman. Carl is also a semifinalist for the Burlsworth and Lott Impact Trophies. And from the Jokers at the NCAA, 80 teams are needed to fill a record 41 bowl games. Problem, only 62 are currently eligible, and only 94 can theoretically get there. So, 5 and 7 teams will be in the postseason. Problem, nobody at the NCAA, the conferences, or even the bowls know how the APR selection, which is used to determine which 5 and 7 teams will go bowling, actually works. It's frustrating and confusing, but do you expect anything less from the circus that is the NCAA, led by head clown Mark Emmert? And your Health South injury update board looks like this. Jordan Lucas out, Carl Nassib, he should be able to go.
I'm concerned that maybe, Todd, we built it up too much.
Yeah, maybe so. I think the viewers might be a little disappointed.
All right, all right, Penn State offense, Michigan defense. Now, here are the numbers and how they stack up on paper. And the last I checked, it isn't played on paper, but still there's certain things. Michigan, again, I go back to that 3-and-out stat. That 3-and-out stat shows me something because it's a trend.
Yeah, which leads me to go back to the defense not traveling so well at Minnesota and at Indiana. You got to take, your most recent results. What have you done for me lately? And for the Wolverines, not much defensively on the road. And Penn State has been solid at home. So if the team that showed up against Illinois shows up at Beaver Stadium and the team that showed up at Indiana shows up for the Wolverines defense, we might have something there. But they're going to have to show some balance, and really it comes down to that line of scrimmage, getting Saquon Barkley some room to run.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, the room to run to then set up everything else, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really, really important that Saquon Barkley has at least 5 or 6 touches in the first quarter. I mean, he's got to run the ball. They got to throw him. They got to get the ball in his hands early in the game and to get him going.
James Franklin says Trey Bauer's right. Got to run the football.
Have to run the ball. It's not like we can just say you're going to load the box up and we're just going to throw it every down. We're going to have to stay with the run and be willing to take some shots down the field. Probably very similar to a Maryland type game where they kind of did the same thing. They loaded the box up and played man coverage and said you consistently won't beat us enough times to win the game. So, we're going to have to look for ways to run the ball and be aggressive and not abandon that and stay balanced.
Penn State averages 6.9 yards per play on first down. Trey, the importance of first down, and psychologically, what does it do to a defense when you can get chunk plays on first down?
Well, I think what happens is, as a defender, if you're giving up, a lot of yards on first down, then you start to press. If you start to press, you start to make mistakes. You get yourself out of position. And, for Penn State, it's like they really have to, commit to not only doing well on first down, but second down, can they follow that up with, a big play? And they haven't been doing that this year.
Which brings us, Todd, to third and manageable.
Well, look, it's all about keeping the chains moving. It'd be nice if you can avoid third down, but when you get to third down, it should be that 3rd and 5 or less, and to continue to move the chains. You're going to need Christian Hackenberg to tuck it under a couple of times to get just across the line to keep it moving. They're going to need the short passes because they're going to be coming after Christian Hackenberg with blitzes. So when it's 3rd and short, he's going to have to make quick decisions and quick slants outs, whatever, to keep those chains moving. I don't look for a lot of big splash plays in this particular game unless Barkley can rip off a couple. They just need to continue to stay on the field and move those chains. James Franklin is impressed by the Michigan defense.
They'll overload you in the box. They're going to play a lot of man coverage, press across the board, even more than usual. A lot of times if you have two receivers on one side, one will be pressed, one will be off to stop, pick routes and things like that. And they just say, no, we're gonna cover your press man all the way across the board and make it really difficult, to find yards.
So we get to our family clothesline offensive player of the week. Which player are we watching for? Trey, we'll start with you. Which offensive player are you watching for to make an impact Saturday?
Well, I mean, for me, it's clearly going to be Barkley. I mean, the fact is that he needs to carry the ball. He needs to have the ball in his hands 25 times on Saturday for Penn State to win that game.
Mine is Deshaun Hamilton. He's our possession-type guy. They got to stay on the field, and those third and shorts as they come to blitz, hopefully they can hit Deshaun Hamilton, and he can get 7, 8, 9 catches on Saturday.
I get the obvious one, and that's Christian Hackenberg. It's not just the ability to throw the football and make plays, guys. He's going to have to look at the Michigan defense and get them into the right play at the right moment. And I think that's part of, he's going to have to not only win the game throwing the football, but manage the game as well. It's going to be his head as well as his arm.
Yeah, and the fact is that, this is going to be his last game in Beaver Stadium. If you're asking my opinion, he's going to be playing the NFL next year, and we need to have a really big game from him on Saturday.
Andrew Callista and Jay Paterno go into the film room next to break down Penn State and Michigan as we continue with Blue White Tailgate presented by Coors Light.
Welcome back to the Blue White Tailgate Show presented by Coors Light. Time to go inside the film room with that man right there, Coach Jay Paterno, presented by the Penn State Bookstore, your official home of the Whiteout t-shirt. And Coach, Penn State, Michigan, the two big blues in the conference, pretty much all that needs to be said for this week.
This is Big Ten football, and it's going to be Big Ten, old school Big Ten football. A lot of power run game, a lot of physical on both sides of the ball. Let's talk about Michigan's offense to get started. And Jake Rudock's had a couple of great weeks at quarterback, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the core of the Michigan offense. And the core of the Michigan offense, they're fullbacks and tight ends. They've got a lot of them. They're very talented, and they are great blockers. Here's an inside design cutback play. They're going to take this fullback, actually block a defensive tackle. Take a look at the video. What Michigan wants to do is they want to run the football. They want to hit you. They want to hit you in the mouth, and they want to tire you out, and they're going to use their fullbacks and tight ends to do it. Now, when you take a look at this graphic, the tight ends and fullbacks are not just blockers. 1/4 of the entire Michigan offensive production goes through those two positions in the pass game and the run game. We'll take a look at the screen here now, and you're going to see one of those runs that they have with the fullback, an old school trap play. They're going to influence block here. They're going to fake the jet sweep, fake the tailback, and the fullback's going to end up with the football. And you'll see from the video how tough it is to identify where that football is. It's going to be a real challenge for Penn State's linebacking core in this matchup with the tight ends and the fullbacks. Here it comes right at you. And you see even Michigan State's linebackers are chasing the jet sweep, chasing the tailback. All of a sudden, the fullback's got the ball. You take a look at the play action now. They're going to come off that same inside zone run fake. And now, we got to be careful what you got. Here's a tight end on the outside using up a corner. They take Chesson, their wideout, who's very talented, and they're going to bring him over the top on those linebackers. Take a look at the video here. Again, play fake. Guys, Michigan State's linebackers playing downhill. They get Chesson over the top of those linebackers. Big play.
Coach, you actually covered that last week. Wide receiver on a linebacker, offensive coordinator's dream.
Absolutely. It's exactly what you want. Now, you talk about the big three. We'll look at the graphic of the big three that we want to talk about. You talk about Jabril Peppers, offensive and defensive player, defensive first. Fifth leading tackler, 14-plus yards every time he touches the football. Chesson, another one of the big three. Chesson has made all kinds of plays. He has scored on returns. He's scored as a receiver and carrying the football. And you talk about Jordan Lewis. We'll get to him in a minute. Start out with Peppers on defense. Here he is playing safety. He's going to beat this block, make a tackle for loss. Take a look at it here on the video. They come out and block him. There's a guy that can cover and tackle. Very rare combination that you find in the safety. Now, here you see him on offense. They get him the ball in the jet sweep. and again, makes a big play, creates some things for the Michigan offense.
You know, obviously they could do some things offensively that could give Penn State problems, but really this team's built around that phenomenal defense.
No question. This will be the best defense I think that Penn State plays all year. And they're good against the run, which sets up a lot of third downs. And then when you go to third down, they're phenomenal on third downs, only giving up 23% of the third downs. Now, against the run, great shot here. When you watch the video, we'll get to the video in a minute, but when you watch the video, watch that blue line, and when the ball's handed off, you're going to see 7 guys with their heels across the line of scrimmage. A penetrating defense, a downhill play with their linebackers. Take a look at the video of it here. Again, here's that ball handed off, and right now, there's 6-7 guys that are already across the line of scrimmage making a play in the backfield. Now, because they're so good against the run, they get you into a lot of third downs. Penn State has struggled on third downs. Michigan's defense has excelled. They like a lot of man. But here's, again, they give you a lot of different looks on defense on those third downs. Here you're going to see a man side here where they're playing man-to-man the boundary, but zone to the field. Gives the quarterback a tough read because he's thinking, okay, we got man-to-man because they're locked up over here. Come over here to the zone side. Take a look at this video here, and you'll see how effective they are. And here's Lewis. Lewis is a great corner, leads the country, or leads the Big Ten in pass breakups, and there you see him one-on-one. Another situation here. Now they come with the blitz, and now they're one-on-one, man-to-man outside. He makes a great play. And where they're difficult, they're not a zone blitz team. With zone blitzes, you get guys open right away, uncovered guys. And those are the guys you go to. With Michigan's scheme, they're going to give you those same overload blitzes, and they're going to play man-to-man so nobody's going to be open. Now, one last third down we're going to look at. Again, here's another blitz situation. They're locked up man-to-man. Now, a lot of times like to say, hey, maybe the quarterback will get loose and run for the first down, or maybe we'll throw a screen off it. They bring the blitz, and now the backside defensive end is going to fold underneath to spy the quarterback in the screen. Take a look at what happens here. We should have 2 good shots of this. They get to the quarterback, nowhere to go with the football on this one. Again, they beat blocks, get to the quarterback, create problems on third down.
That's a blitz that Michigan's run for years, especially when Lloyd Carr was there. And you mentioned the man-to-man. We talked to Christian Hackenberg on Tuesday. He said they're in your face, no free passes, because that's just the style of defense they play.
No, and they've been very, very effective with it. And that's going to be the big challenge. And, you know, one of the things I think fans should look at is where does Jordan Lewis, their great corner, go? I think they'll put him on Godwin almost the whole game, and that'll be a great matchup to watch.
I love that. It's going to be some old school football in Beaver Stadium. I know you guys like to run the football. When we come back, I talk with Dave Revson right here on the Blue White Tailgate Show. Welcome back to the Blue White Tailgate Show presented by Coors Light. We'll get you back to the guys in just a bit, but first a treat. We have BTN studio host and analyst Dave Revson with us. Dave, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure to be with you, Andrew.
Couple big games in the conference. Penn State, Michigan. Obviously a big game for Michigan as they could get a share of the East, but Penn State, you at least want to get one marquee win a year. This is their chance.
Yeah, no doubt. I think for exactly the reasons you outlined. I mean, Michigan still has a chance here to get the East. Obviously, they need some help. They need to take care of business and have not been overwhelming here the last couple of times out. Certainly the Indiana game wasn't all that impressive. So, and then I agree with you on Penn State. I mean, you know, they have beaten everyone they were supposed to beat, maybe with the exception of Temple. But when they've come up against the better opponents in the Big Ten, they haven't won. And can they get a win here that is something you can hang your hat on, whether it's Michigan or at Michigan State next week? One of those two, I think they need something to make you feel like it's headed in the right direction.
Dave, Urban Meyer, Harbaugh, they've kind of accelerated the curve. For Penn State fans, a little bit of frustration. You mentioned the loss of Temple with Coach Franklin. What do you think the enthusiasm should be like and the expectations currently for Penn State with Coach Franklin?
Well, I think they should be high. I mean, James Franklin was one of the hottest names out there when Penn State hired him. He has recruited extremely well. They've got another really good class set to sign, it looks like, in February, assuming they can hold it together. So I would be excited. I think the challenge for Penn State is that they are on the much more difficult side of the Big Ten. So you have Ohio State and Michigan State that are ahead of Penn State right now. And so the challenge is, who are you going to jump? I'm not sure who the answer is on that. So I think that's kind of the two sides of the coin for Penn State fans. On one hand, You have a really good coach. You have a good staff in place. You have so many built-in advantages, a great fan base, very good facilities, an incredible recruiting base. On the flip side, you're going to need to outperform some of the teams that are ahead of you right now, and none of them show any signs of letting up.
You look at the Wolverine defense, Jabril Peppers, obviously he's a stud, getting some time on offense as well. For Nittany Lion fans, what should they expect to see from him this weekend?
Really good athlete, Andrew. I mean, and they're trying to work him in, as you said, a little bit more offensively. He's a very good punt returner. He's just an explosive player, and we shouldn't overlook, he is a really, really good defensive player. I've been very impressed with his instincts, with his kind of knowledge of angles on the field. I think he does a lot of little things really well that you don't expect from a guy who hasn't spent all that much time out there. I'm impressed by him. There's a lot of hype around him. I'm not sure if he's necessarily done everything to deserve all of the hype that he's getting at this point, but it's clear he is an uber-talented guy.
You bring up the hype word. Christian Hackenberg came into the season with lots of it. Kind of struggled early on. Penn State puts up 70 points against Maryland and Illinois, struggles against Northwestern. Have you seen the Nittany Lion offense progress, and what are they going to have to do on Saturday?
It's an interesting offense, as you know, because you do have an incredibly talented quarterback. You have a running back in Barkley who has been, when he is healthy, I think has been as explosive as virtually any guy in the league this side of, maybe Ezekiel Elliott, Jordan Howard, but I mean, he's probably the next guy. He is that good. You have really talented receivers, and yet, obviously, with the issues at offensive line and the inconsistency from Hackenberg, it just hasn't come together. I thought they had turned the corner against Illinois. That did not turn out to be the case. I thought against Northwestern, again, they were, essentially shut down. Certainly for the first 2.5 quarters of that game, they did virtually nothing. And, I guess I just kind of think this is what it is. They're going to have to try to win down the stretch with their defense. They're going to have to try to avoid mistakes, and they're going to have to feed Barkley and see whether that's good enough.
Yeah, a lot of Nittany Lion fans obviously frustrated. Dave, wanted to get your opinion on this. You've been around a long time. The final 6 players to ever play for Joe Paterno at some point in their career are going to walk off the Beaver Stadium field. Is that a monumentous moment that should be celebrated nationally, and do you think it eventually will be?
Well, whether or not it will be celebrated nationally, I think, is almost a moot point, just because that's just not the kind of stuff I think the national media necessarily latches onto. It is kind of a symbolic final passing of the torch, I guess, in State College. I obviously have tremendous, tremendous respect for Coach Paterno. He was great to us. He was obviously defined Penn State football. We know the way that it ended and kind of the challenge to his legacy, and I think that's going to be discussed and debated for many, many years to come. But, those guys came to State College to play for someone who was an absolute legend, and so I can absolutely see why, people associated with Penn State football would see that as an important and symbolic moment.
Dave, I want to put you on the spot a little bit right here. Penn State currently a 5-point dog. What do you think happens?
I think Michigan is the better team. You obviously have the advantage of, a home game in State College. You've got senior day. You've got a whiteout. You've got a team that's played so much better at home than on the road this year in Penn State. To me, this is one of those games that kind of it could go either way. I'll be interested to see how well Penn State runs the ball. I mean, some cracks are really starting to show in that Michigan defense. If they can establish the run even remotely as well as Indiana did it a week ago, I think Penn State's got a great chance to emerge with a win. So I'm fascinated to watch this Michigan defense and interested to see if what happened against Indiana was an aberration or if that's kind of where we are right now.
Dave, thank you so much for taking the time here with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Andrew.
When we come back, it's time to break down the Wolverines with Trey, Todd, and Steve right here on the Blue White Tailgate Show.
Based on the last 2 segments, you thought the 3 of us quit. But that's not true. We're back. And let's talk about Michigan. And he's probably the single most talked about coach of the offseason and into the season, and that is Jim Harbaugh. His file is impressive as to what he's done in his career. And Todd, you made a great point. You talk about what he did at the Niners, but what he did at Stanford was really impressive.
Well, the three letters that come to mind when I think of Jim Harbaugh is ROI, return on investment. This guy, they gave him a pile of money, and they're cashing in immediately. He's got him 8-2. The Michigan State loss would have had him at 9-1 if it wasn't for that crazy play at the end. But he's got about a 4-year window, right? 2007 through 2010 for Stanford. Took over a team that was 1-11. They eventually become Orange Bowl champs. He goes to the Niners. They get to the NFC Championship 3 straight years, his first 3. Immediate impact there. Lost in the Super Bowl. And then the 4th year wore out his welcome. He's in his first year at Michigan. Already a turnaround. They were 5-7 last year. They got 8 wins. They're trying to get their 9th. And then in their case, they want to try and get 10 if they can clean sweep it and take care of their big rival, Ohio State.
But let's look at big picture here for a moment down the road, guys. You've got Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Mark D'Antonio's done a great job at Michigan State. Urban Meyer at Ohio State. James Franklin, everyone's seeing how he's recruiting, how it's coming on. The Big Ten East is now a division that obviously the Big Ten can hang its hat on all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the other thing is, obviously, as a homer, as a Penn State guy, it's like I'm just sick and tired of hearing about the SEC. I don't really care what goes on down there, guys. They all cheat, okay, and we do it the right way. They do it the wrong way. So the fact is now we've got 4 big-time coaches in the same division. I think it's awesome.
He's fired up a little early. We didn't even make it to G Block for the matchups. We got him going.
You keep doing this, they're going to wipe out the update desk.
Yeah.
All right. James Franklin, very impressed by what the Michigan offense has been able to generate over the last few weeks.
They are playing with a lot more confidence right now. They're much more explosive on offense. And they're doing a nice job. You know, the receivers are really coming on, making plays for them. The tight end Butts is making plays for them. They protect really well. And they're going to try to run the ball, you know, like they do every week. So yeah, it's going to be a tremendous challenge. There's no doubt about it.
Jake Butt, the tight ends, had a really good season. And then Darboh is coming off a career-high 109. Chesson's coming off a career-high 207. And Todd, it starts with the quarterback, Jake Rudock, who's a 5th-year guy.
Well, and we've mentioned how comfortable he's getting, and that is good for the targets that he's going after. I mean, look, they would like to run the ball. It's a traditional offense. They want to be balanced. Not sure who's going to run the ball. None of them really have breakaway-type speed. Right. So you're going to look for those chunk plays, the 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, and then Rudock tries to hit the wideouts. Now, Chesson caught 4 touchdowns, a couple of those in overtime. So he finished a lot of drives. But if Darboh steps up, and then they got a lot of weapons.
And Willie Henry's had a good year for Michigan. But I want to get to Jordan Lewis, Trey, because he appears to be a lockdown corner. When you're playing on a defense, Trey, with a lockdown corner, what does that mean for a linebacker like you played?
Well, I mean, you know, certainly when you have a guy who can literally shut down one side of the field, and you know that you don't have to take care of that as much as you normally would have to do that. It just makes it easier for you, you know, as a defensive player, certainly as a linebacker. You don't have to take as deep drops. You don't. There's a lot of things that kind of go into that, and he's certainly one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, he leads the Big Ten in pass breakups with 18, which is already a Michigan single-season record. He has been outstanding. And remember, people aren't going to be in the mood to throw in his direction as the season goes along either. There's another guy, too. It's an X factor. That's Jabril Peppers. James Franklin says you have to account for him on every play.
You need to be aware of him on offense. You know, he's in there. They're going to try to get his hands on the ball, whether it's as a receiver or as a running back. He is an explosive guy. You know, same thing on special teams. You know, as a returner, is able to impact the game in that area. And then on defense, they play him all over the place. You know, they play him at safety, they play him at nickel, they play him at corner, they play him at outside linebacker. He kind of plays all these different roles for him.
Hurt last year, Todd, and now he's back this year, and he impacts the game and probably is out there anywhere from 80 to 100 snaps in the game.
Well, people will be watching the game, and they'll go, oh, that guy's pretty fast on offense. They got him the ball. And then they'll be watching, and they'll say, well, he just made that tackle.
Yes.
And I love that philosophy. If you've got a player that can play on both sides of the ball, and you can do it sporadically and sprinkle it in, why not? I mean, if he's one of your best football players and he can handle duties on both sides of the ball, get him on the field and in special teams as well, and that's what Michigan does with him.
Times up the blitz really well, good cover guy. On offense, though, he injects some speed into that offense, Trey, and that's a big issue.
Well, I mean, you know, the guy has wheels. I mean, he was a 100-meter champ coming out of New Jersey. He is an explosive player. I mean, I was kind of like saying that last year they were talking about him being, you know, Charles Woodson type, whatever. I mean, that's a lot of expectations for a young guy, but the fact is he's the real deal, and he's their best player.
Yeah, he is really good. You have to account for him all the time. Coming up, the G Block, the good, the bad, the ugly. On Blue White Tailgate, presented by Coors Light. Because we enjoy promoting great literature on this show, Big Ten Country. This book almost went to the AAUW book sale. Oh no. To Joe, welcome to the Big Ten, Bo Schembechler.
That's pretty cool.
Bo actually came here for a facility tour. There's a great moment of Bo and Joe walking across the practice field together. Certain things in your memory bank where you sit back and say, I will never forget that as long as I live. That's one of them. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We have had a lot of mail and email saying, please portray Trey as the good.
I am good. I am good. But I'm not as good as the tribute that I'm going to just say to the senior class of this football team for Penn State. You know, what they've had to go through from the very beginning to come as far as they have. It's senior day. It's not only good, it's great for the seniors.
Well said. How about the bad? The Pac-12's chances of getting into the Final Four. Stanford gets their second loss, so everyone in the conference now has 2 losses. And I'm sorry, folks, you're out of it.
The ugly. Cancer's ugly, and it takes away a fine career of Gary Pinkel at Missouri. Because of lymphoma, he is going to step down at the end of the season. Gary Pinkel ended up getting the Missouri job in part because of the great season he had in 2000 at Toledo, which included a win at Beaver Stadium over Penn State, 24-6.
Unprecedented success at Missouri.
Yes.
I mean, amazing, the numbers.
Yes.
10-win seasons,
They were
incredible. Incredible.
Right, and been to the SEC championship game a couple of times. A great job there. And again, parents, do not teach your children through sports. There are 14 teams in the Big Ten. There are 10 in the Big 12, and Missouri's in the SEC East. Okay. All right, so let's get to it. College football playoffs. Let's look at our weekly rundown. Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, and Trey, who's that 4th team?
It's just unbelievable how much. I don't understand what these people are doing. I mean, Notre Dame, the 4th-ranked team in the country, give me a break for God's sakes. They may lose 2 more games like before the playoffs even start.
You just laid it down, teed it up for him, and slam, 300 yards down the middle. Yes. Wow, yes. Love it.
Okay. By the way, Iowa controls its own destiny. They're on the outside looking, and they still have to play Ohio State down the road potentially.
Most
so
of the
they're
top
okay.
10 does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people panicking out there. You just win your games. It'll work itself out for a lot of those teams.
Now, Baylor, coming off the losses at Oklahoma State, one of those teams ranked 6th right now. Trey?
I like Oklahoma State. It's not going to be a defensive struggle, that's for sure. I mean, they're going to score 50, and they're going to score just enough to beat them.
Northwestern plays at Wisconsin, Todd.
I think Wisconsin holds serve at Camp Randall. Northwestern's, boy, that's a tough team to kind of get a handle on. They've had some good wins and some uneven performances. I like the Badgers.
Right now, the darling is Oklahoma. Everybody loves Oklahoma. They're at home with TCU.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they really take it to TCU. I would be really, really surprised if they don't beat them at home.
Very quickly, Michigan State, Ohio State, each one of you.
Ooh, boy, I like the Buckeyes. I just think they're going to have a complete performance.
Trey?
Michigan State.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Okay, Aaron's keys to the game. Let's get it rolling. I start with it. Giveaway, takeaway key, field position, getting some balance.
The key to the game here for me is if Penn State on 3rd down conversions. One of the worst in the country, second to last. If they convert 35% of their 3rd downs, they're going to win on Saturday.
The unit is called the Wild Dogs. The defensive line has to control the line of scrimmage for the Nittany Lions.
All right, a lot of fun. After a bye week, back to the stadium. Penn State trying to complete an undefeated home season as they take on Michigan before a whiteout at Beaver Stadium. For Todd, Trey, I'm Steve. Oh, yeah, and Andrew Callista and Jay Paterno. Thanks for joining us on Blue White Tailgate presented by Coors Light.